Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Karen Cozier Phillips. C News is live at noon. Topping the news at this time, the man accused of sending a threatening online message to the Prime Minister and his family has pleaded not guilty at court. Rayad Mohammed appeared at the Superior Magistrates Court this morning, charged with sending a grossly offensive message, an offense under the Summary Offences Act. Mohammed has been granted bail in the sum of $15,000 and is scheduled to reappear at court on August 2nd. He is being represented by attorney Haseen Sheikh. According to Section 106 of the Summary Offences Act, any person who sends any message by telephone which is grossly offensive or an indecent, obscene or menacing character, sends any message by telephone, telegram which he knows to be false for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience or needless anxiety to any other person, or persistently makes telephone calls without reasonable cause and for such purpose as mentioned above, is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $200 or to imprisonment for 1 month. Attorney Farid Ali says this is a very interesting case because from his understanding of the law, if an individual is inciting violence, then he is to be prosecuted for his action. He told us there is no law which addresses the specific issue of social media information.
I'm wondering if it's because we're dealing with the Prime Minister of this country and his children or his daughter that this comment has been the subject of so much focus. I am of the view that if it is the comment made by the individual that the Prime Minister or his daughter should be subject to a knife attack, and if they are in fact harmed in some way, whether by way of rape or other physical harm, that you would like to see his reaction, his response, then how could that be in itself be inciting violence towards the PM and his daughter?
He said the comment made on social media should have been taken in the context of everything that has happened, the murder of 12-year-old Videsh Subar and his caretaker Rose Mohammed.
How could we not take what he said, the individual, in the context of what has happened? 2 persons have died. 1 has been sexually harassed or sexually interfered with. A Prime Minister in response to that says, we cannot now ban knives. He has not in his comments showed any sort of sympathy or empathy for the citizen who has suffered the wrong. And another citizen has said, what if this Prime Minister or his daughter was a victim and in a similar way? How could that individual now be termed or be deemed to have been acting in a way to incite violence?
However, he said this speaks to a much larger issue, that of legislation, more specifically cyber legislation.
For information to be relevant and admissible in a courtroom, to become evidence, it must first be tested in the court. If an individual has suffered loss, for instance, an individual has been robbed or has been raped, that individual must go into the box and give evidence, and the court must hear the evidence coming from the mouth of the victim. And then the case must be proven. How are we going to admit into evidence a comment made by Facebook media or by any sort of social media? The prosecution in proving the case must prove that the individual is the author of the comment.
To other news now, the Minister of Education, Anthony Garcia, has addressed concerns raised by some parents whose children were not placed in a secondary school. Several parents who collected SCA results on Tuesday raised this issue and said it was contrary to what the minister said previously.
Where students who won the exam scored below the 30%, and those students are under the age of 13, those students who were afforded the opportunity of resitting the exam, returning to the primary school for another year and resitting the exam. Again, I want you to note my words. Those students are afforded the opportunity of returning to the primary school for another year and resitting the exam. It is not a case that we can't find places for them. It is in the interest of those children to build on their foundation.
And the minister in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Lavelle Francis, said over 2,000 students out of 18,149 students scored below 30% in the SCA. This is the C News Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. Meanwhile, the Minister of Education says nothing out of the ordinary was done when placing students in secondary schools. Minister Garcia said not all students could have gone to the schools of their parents' choosing.
All of us know that no right is unfettered. And if a child has to attend the school of the parents' choice, then that child has to make the required marks. So although the parent will have the right to choose, it all depends on the performance of the child, and this is why we say the first criterion is merit.
Of course, placement was based on the following criteria: merit, parents' choice of school, gender, and 20% denominational, resident, and multiple births. On Tuesday, over 18,000 students got their STA results. The top student being 12-year-old Lexi Balchan of the Point Fortin Astra Primary School. 68 households have received grant funding for disaster relief from the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Some of the grants are valued up to $10,000. The homes were referred by the Siparia Regional Corporation and includes communities within Siparia, Faizabad, South Uruput, Woodland, and environs. The grants were provided to replace basic lost items, bring restoration and a sense of normalcy to affected persons. These persons are also being assessed to receive assistance with minor structural repairs, as well as counseling and other social support services. Similar distributions also took place at the Diego Martin Regional Corporation, the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, Cuba Tabaquit Talparo Regional Corporation, and the San Juan Lavental Regional Corporation. The ministry will continue its disaster relief grant distribution at its Tunapuna Social Welfare District office on July 5, 2017. According to the ODPM, most of the assessments have been completed. The Siparia and Penal Debe areas are the two which are still being looked at. To some crime news now. Police have shot and killed a man who was allegedly assaulting his grandmother. Reports say at around 8:05 p.m. on Tuesday, officers of the Baratara Police Station responded to a domestic violence report at Don Miguel Road. Police on arrival saw Damian Downey, a man armed with a knife. He was reportedly assaulting his 90-year-old grandmother. When confronted, he attacked the two responding officers, causing injury to one another. The other officers retaliated and opened fire on the man. He was taken to hospital where he died. And police are now investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting death of a man in Mova. He is yet to be identified. The man was killed at Poinsettia Drive at around 10:30 p.m. on Tuesday. Police said he is of African descent, believed to be in his 30s. They suspect he is originally from Maracas Bay with a tattoo of a scorpion on the right side of his neck. He was wearing a white jersey and an American patterned pants. The People's National Movement has condemned statements made by opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar on Monday night. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar claimed the daughter of a businessman was kidnapped and people have not heard anything about it.
Yeah, I got a text on my phone and I just had to ask Chairman Awong if the incident he spoke about was respect to a certain person, about the attempted kidnapping. He said no. But on my phone I got a text telling me that the daughter of a businessman has been kidnapped. This is the news I received on my phone. I will give no more details on it.
However, according to police, they have received no such report. In a statement this morning, the PNM said the action of Mrs. Persad-Bissessar was calculated to create unnecessary panic. It said the UNC's continued fear-mongering should be rejected by the people, as the UNC is on a path of destruction. The PNM went on to congratulate the police service for its quick apprehension of 7 accused for the recent kidnapping of a South businessman. The Congress of the People has postponed its national election. In a statement, the party said it has been reported that on Tuesday, 27th June, a pre-action protocol letter on behalf of a member of the party was issued. It noted in an effort to have the issues raised in the letter resolved by the members of the party, the July 9th polling day will be postponed. A new date will be selected when the party's General Council meeting takes place on Sunday. State-owned Petrotrin has confirmed its refinery is experiencing problems. and notes it was as a result of Tropical Storm Brett. In a memo sent to the workers on Tuesday, the company said, further to our internal memo released on June 28, 2017, with respect to the status of the refinery post-Tropical Storm Brett, the refinery startup was further hampered by a major power failure on June 30th. The company said the next few days are critical and it's urging workers to provide their colleagues from the refining and marketing division with full support in their ongoing activities to restore refinery operations. It noted the interruptions associated with the storm and power failures have further exacerbated the already fragile cash flow position of the company and is a major challenge. Petrotrin went on to urge employees to seek out opportunities to reduce the cost of their operations, particularly through the reduction of discretionary spending as well as controllable overtime. Now for the weather. For the period this afternoon, there should be cloudy periods at times with light to moderate showers in varying localities. These are normal with waves up to 2 meters in open waters and less than 1 meter in sheltered areas. The appointment of Alison West as a minister in the Ministry of Finance has raised the eyebrow of at least one person. Communications consultant Denise Deming has expressed concern about this move. While admitting the government is free to appoint whoever it wants in whatever position, this appointment raised the issue of a possible conflict of interest. Ms. West is a former partner and territory tax leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers.
In their portfolio, they may have had large organizations on whose behalf they are acting with regard to taxation issues. And today, that person who represents that same organization may have to administer, may have to provide a judgment. And that bothers me as a citizen. Just as when Volney jumped, was almost parachuted from the bench onto politics. He went to sleep one night as a judge, woke up the next morning as a politician.
She said moves like these eat away at the fabric of our society. She said what is needed is transparency and good governance for the society to survive. But Ms. Deming said those in power don't listen to all of the people.
Absolutely believe this. They only respond to high pressure. So until people in our society begin to put pressure on whichever government to say that, listen, governance is important, transparency is important, until we start to do the systemic issues and start to really put pressure to change the systems, then it's hopeless.
People are not safe while bathing at the nation's beaches. One of the reasons for this is that lifeguards do not have the proper equipment, facilities, and they are short in numbers. In the Senate on Tuesday, Leader of Government Business Franklin Cann said government is not going to increase the number of lifeguards anytime soon. This was in response to several drownings over the weekend. Health and Safety Officer of the Lifeguards Association, Augusta Sylvester, told us their concerns.
We are short-staffed, one. So the lifeguard towers where the lifeguard would have that advantage height to supervise the bathers are non-functionable. They are unsafe, therefore the workers are not using those towers. We have had a situation where one of the cleaners who were sanitizing the tower fell, damaged her back. She's 50% disabled. Over 5 years now, she hasn't been paid yet.
There was also a suggestion to have lifeguards work about 1 or 2 hours after 5 p.m. However, that will be a problem for the lifeguards. Mr. Augustus said as it stands, there are about 115 lifeguards patrolling 9 beaches, but that's not enough.
In the last 6 to 7 years, and we are working short. In order to facilitate the staff on a weekend, you have workers who are off are coming back now in order to facilitate the staff because we are short. Right now we need at least 200 lifeguards.
Mr. Sylvester said when the PNM came into government, lifeguards were put under the Ministry of National Security without any consultation. As a result, they want to speak with the relevant authorities. The Automotive Dealers Association is again calling on the Ministry of Trade to issue a list of the foreign used car dealers who have been deregistered and those who are non-compliant with the rules and regulations. More in this report.
According to the association's president, Visham Babwa, 9 dealers have been deregistered and 25 non-compliant. However, the population doesn't know who they are.
If an individual is going to purchase a car, they would want to be sure that they are going to someone who is registered and not deregistered, and they could be defrauded. And you know what's happening with this industry with regards to fraudulent activities. The banks, all the banks have called me, all the financial institutions have called me, the insurance are calling me. If I have heard anything, if I know of these names, I have not gotten any list of any names of any dealers.
He said the Ministry of Trade should also say why they were deregistered. The association's Vice President Rondell Fields said this decision has left everyone in limbo.
Imagine I've gone to the licensing office and some of the technical staff there are asking me if we have information to pass to them, because they don't want people coming registering cars and they have been deregistered off the list, because the licensing office houses these files to do registration and they won't know. So it's very appalling to me that the Ministry of Trade hasn't even contacted the Ministry of Works and Transport to say, well, hey, we have to register these people are not supposed to do business.
Mr. Babwa said it seems as though there is a bid to get rid of several dealers.
Because if you could send out and say that there are 9 dealers that have been deregistered and 25 non-compliant, you have not given the names, you have leave the general public in a state of confusion as to who to conduct business by. Right? So it leaves every dealer now there. The general public would be thinking, I had a lady from Central Bank came to purchase a vehicle from me. Right? And she said, Mr. Babwa, are you one of the deregistered dealers? I said, no, ma'am.
He said since this minister, Paulo Gopiskun, took office, the association has only had one meeting with him. He wants this to change. Rishi Harinanan, C News.
Block Up Incorporated, a community group from Currap and environs, hosted its 34th post-primary cricket tournament for schools in the East-West corridor. There are usually between 40 to 45 schools participating, but this year, because of a lack of sponsorship, only 32 teams were able to be funded for competition. The tournament is geared towards getting the students who wrote the SCA exams and are awaiting results to remain active in healthy competition. This year's boys' final saw a battle between St. Pius Boys RC and Bamboo Government. And when the dust cleared, St. Pius walked away winners of the league, while the knockout competition went to the youngsters from Arima Boys Government. Bonaire Government Primary won the girls' knockout and Bamboo Government won the girls' league.
Joseph Girls RC. And here the trophy will be presented to them.
Our main goal is we always use this tournament as a nursery for the students to graduate to under 16, under 17, under 19, and by extension the Trinidad and Tobago national team and the West Indies cricket team.
The Defence Force outfit remained in third place in the Trinidad and Tobago Super League standings despite losing for the first time this season. They encountered a plucky Kunupia outfit which ended the match 2 men short, but had the all-important 1 goal more than the Army when the final whistle blew.
This one heated up early with Kunupia firing the first salvo. But it was the Defence Force who scored first after the Kunupia defender had a handful of the attacker's shirt, leaving the referee no choice but to point to the spot. From there, it was like taking candy from a baby for Joycema Belgrave, who made it 1-0 to the Army in the 10th minute. They almost doubled up soon after, but the bar got in the way and it stayed out. They would enjoy this little spell, but had just the 1 goal to show for all their enterprise. And they were made to pay for that drought in front of goal as Kunupia's speedy front kicked in, and there was the energetic Stefan Stout on spot to finish the move for 1-1 in the 31st. Both teams would come close to adding to the scoreline, but on each occasion failed to do so. The Defence Force almost went to the break in front from a harmless-looking corner, but the header bounced wide to keep it at 1-1 at the break. They would come out firing in the second, and this well-worked set piece is finished off by the most delicate of touches from Belgrave, who made it 2-1 with his second in the 50th. But 5 minutes later, Kunupia were back level when this defensive lapse is punished by Malcolm Stewart for 2 apiece. And they weren't done, as the men in yellow went ahead for the first time in the match when that man Stout popped up with the go-ahead goal in the 64th, celebrating a personal brace as well. Then the game took a turn for the worst, as tempers became frail and the referee had his hands full in keeping things calm. In the end, he had no choice but to issue red cards to Dina Lopez of Cunupia and Keston Williams of the Defense Force in the 78th minute. Then, goal hero Stout was also sent back in 4 minutes from time for a second bookable offence, and Cunupia were down to 9 men. The army pounced and did get the ball in the back of the net, but much to their chagrin, the referee waved off the apparent equalizer when the assistant had the flag up for offsides against the goal scorer, and it wouldn't count. Cunupia therefore held on to claim all 3 points and climbed to 4th on 9 points, the same as 3rd place Defence Force and 2nd place Santa Rosa FC, each with 3 wins and 3 points behind the leaders Guaya, who are perfect with 12 points from 4 matches.
Well, that's it for sport. The 38th regional meeting of the CARICOM heads of government took off on Tuesday with the Secretary General Urin Larocque saying this year's conversation will focus strongly on ways to improve economic growth across the region. Speaking at the opening ceremony in Grenada on Tuesday, Mr. Larocque said particular focus must be placed on strengthening the CARICOM single market economy CMSE, which he described as the best vehicle to provide sustainable development in the region.
Having created the single market, the task now is to ensure that the private sector utilizes fully its provisions. We must move to strengthen the enabling environment to support their efforts. Trade facilitation and the ease of doing business at a regional level are at least as equally important as fiscal incentives.
The Secretary General also made reference to the new CARICOM Air Services Agreement, which is currently being reviewed. He said it will reap several benefits once properly implemented. Well, that's the CNews report at noon. I'm Karen Kuze-Phillip. Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the CNews website at ctvtt.com. Do have a good afternoon.